Before I distribute the content of the press briefing, let me welcome all of you to our zonal press briefing from Sokoto zone. We intended to invite you to this press conference in order to keep you abreast with some emerging issues consequent upon the strike action we began on the 21st of March 2020. Since that time up to today, about 7 months, a lot of issues have emerged as it relates to state of the nation and also the issue of governance that affected the union and also other issues in the country. So it is in view of this that we invited you so that the world will know on what is actually happening as far as our strike is concerned and it relates to the state of the nation. Let me distribute the papers to you. Now, I was able to summarize the salient features of this press briefing. In fact, there are 7 major items of concern. First, there is the issue of the University Transparency Accountability Solution, utas, which I believe you are aware of. There is also the issue of IPPIS, the Integrated Payroll and Personnel System, which the government imposed on us. There is also the issue of 7th of February MOA of 2019, which Asuu signed with the federal government. There is also the issue of universities that are operating in the country without laws. There is also the issue of COVID-19 pandemic and the reopening of schools. Furthermore, there is the issue of withholding of Asuu staff salaries. You may wish to note that for about 7 months now, there are some universities that are not paid their salaries, which is in the content of the press briefing. There is also a state of insecurity in the country. And finally, there is the issue of e-learning, which is being practiced in some universities that we felt is not proper. So these are the salient features of the press briefing. And without taking much of your time, I will start with the briefing. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, Sokoto Zone, comprising of Usman Danfodiyo University, Sokoto, Udus, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua University, Katsina, Umyuk, Kebbi State University of Science and Technology, Aleru, Kesista, Sokoto State University, SSU, and Federal University, Dusama, Fuduma, has called this press conference to keep the public abreast of developments in Asuu's ongoing struggle for improved university system for the transformation of Nigeria. This briefing also addresses emerging issues which have serious implications for university governance and the survival of the country as one indivisible nation. Recall that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, on Monday, 23rd March 2020, after an emergency National Executive Council (NEC) meeting, declared a total, comprehensive, and indefinite strike action to get government to satisfactorily address the 7th February 2019 Memorandum of Action, MOA. It consciously entered with the union. The MOA borders on matters of revitalization funds for public universities, arrears of earned academic allowances, EAA, visitation to universities, proliferation of state universities, and the issues of governance in them, and the conclusion of the renegotiation of the 2009 FGN Asuu agreement. As the union was tracking the implementation of the 2019 MOA, for the purpose of distraction, the government suddenly imposed the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, known as IPPIS, which Asuu had rejected for good reasons when it was first introduced by the universities in 2013 to 2014. Vehement resistance of the imposed IPPIS by our members almost overshadowed the union's main demands as from July 2019. This has put a lot of doubt in the seriousness of the government in the fight against COVID-19, as there is no logic in locking down a community to save its life and withdraw its means of livelihood. The union assumes any government that can do this is only playing with the intelligence of the world community on the monumental global issue. Gentlemen of the press, recall also that following our engagement with the federal government of Nigeria over issues that eventually led to the declaration of the ongoing strike action on 17th March 2020, government declared that, and I quote, it accepts in principle the University Transparency and Accountability Solution, known as UTAS, which is being developed by Asuu and its researchers for financial administration of the university federal government staff monthly payroll and accounting process. In addition, the federal government pledged that when fully developed, UTAS will be subjected to various integrity tests in order to verify its efficiency to see whether this final product will pass the necessary technical attribute test as specified by NITDA, that is the National Information Technology Agency. Asuu last 2 weeks declared that the software is ready for the integrity test as part of efforts to keep that promise despite the 18 months grace given to the union. We therefore implore that UTAS is far more than just an alternative to IPPIS, which does not respect university peculiarities. Thus, the development of UTAS is at the same time attestation to the capacity of Nigerian scholars and researchers to respond to our developmental challenges when tasked to provide solutions. It is our hope that government will not renege on its promise because the benefits of UTAS to the university system, both public and private, cannot be found in any other software in Nigeria today. Now, governance issues in Nigerian universities. In recent times, Asuu has had reasons to express serious concerns over governance issues in many Nigerian universities. Some vice chancellors were deceiving and defrauding unsuspecting students and parents by pretending to keep the session running during the nationwide lockdown in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic in universities bereft of the required ICT infrastructure. We know of universities where students were mandatorily made to pay for matriculation gowns in order to participate in online matriculation and the graduation ceremonies. There were also reports that fraudulent online examinations were and still being conducted in some universities, involving surrogate examinations such as parents and relatives of candidates as supervisors. And it is shocking to note that some of these malfeasances against academic standard and university ethics were perpetrated by private as well as public universities. With the winding down of COVID-19 lockdown, Asuu calls on the NUC as the regulator of the university to take immediate steps to investigate all fraudulent practices committed by overzealous VCs who have compromised and are still compromising academic standards and subverting university ethics. While we salute the courage and resoluteness of many VCs who have stood their ground in preserving whatever left of the quality of Nigeria's university education. Distinguished compatriots, it is highly embarrassing that the two universities in Sokoto zone and some others in the country established under President Goodluck Jonathan, namely Federal University of Gusau and Federal University of Birnin Kebbi, have been operating for close to 10 years without their respective establishment acts. We call on federal government to take urgent and necessary steps to remedy the situation. Comrades and compatriots of the press, it's amount to stating the obvious to say the ship of our nation has drifted into frightening precipice. We seem to be losing grip in virtually all key issues of our lives, such as education, health, economy, and security. The critical state of the economy has now been worsened by the unanticipated COVID-19 lockdown, leading to another inescapable bout of recession. Unemployment has compelled quite a number of people to take to crime, thereby endangering the security of the country. The security challenges have escalated beyond the control of state authorities. The state of insecurity in the Northwest and Nigeria in general has reached alarming state over the last 4 months. Hundreds of citizens have lost their lives and properties due to banditry, kidnappings, and the like. The recent relocation of Federal University Dutsenma University Administration from the permanent site back to the take-up campus due to security threats is a pointer to the security challenges in the region. The fundamental objective of any state is to ensure security of lives and properties of all its citizens. We call on the Nigerian government to live to its responsibility as captured in Chapter 2, Section 14B of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Asuu, as a union of intellectuals, finds it unacceptable that Presidential Task Force will discuss issues relating to prevention, control, and possible cure of COVID-19 in Nigeria without reference to universities and university-based scholars. It is far from the truth to say that universities cannot fulfill the conditions laid down by the government for their reopening. With the hostels and the lecture rooms choked up with students, how do we practice social distancing? How many universities in Nigeria have running water in the campuses? The private universities that are clamoring for the opening of schools, what percentage of students do they have compared to public universities? These questions and the many others expose the concomitant consequences of reopening schools without doing the needful. It is no longer news that Asuu members across the country were actively involved in the production and distribution of hand sanitizers, handbills and posters and other items to support government efforts to prevent and control the spread of coronavirus in the country. Our medical and pharmaceutical members were and still involved in frontline activities as members of COVID-19 state task forces and volunteers in isolation centers and clinics across the country. Deploying Asuu members to assist the health emergency occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, even at a time when the federal government is withholding the salaries of our members on account of the discredited IPs, bespeak Asuu's sense of patriotism and government's insensitivity. Finally, on conclusion, we cannot end this address without reiterating the fact that our strike action predated the COVID-19 pandemic or even the resurgence of government insistence and forcible migration of lecturers to the IPPIS platform. As we speak, 5 months salaries of our members at UNIMATE, MOAU in particular, and others across the universities are still being withheld by the Accountant General of the Federation Office on account of non-registration on IPs. Thousands of other academics across the universities are suffering from the same fate. So while we counsel that government at both the federal and state levels must meet the task force specified guidelines for opening of educational institutions, we insist that all the areas of withheld salaries of our members in federal and state universities must be paid immediately to pave way for further discussion on outstanding issues in the Memorandum of Action of 7th February 2019. For now, the struggle continues. Thank you for listening. Oh, thank you very much. Now? So,